The wellness market is currently saturated with many expensive supplements promising to stall aging and repair damaged tissue. At the center of this multi-billion-dollar trend are peptides, molecular sequences marketed for their ability to influence human physiology with surgical precision. Biologically, a peptide is a chain of amino acids, shorter than a protein, but long enough to serve as a signaling molecule. These specific sequences represent the chemical language the body uses to communicate with cellular receptors. When a peptide binds to its target, it triggers a cascade of intracellular events. Depending on the specific arrangement of amino acids, it stimulates the production of collagen, initiates the oxidation of fatty acids, or modulates the local inflammatory response. Because of the high demand for these effects, companies have pivoted toward consumer convenience. They offer oral capsules, sublingual liquids, and nasal sprays, suggesting that these complex sequences can reach their targets through the digestive system. Human physiology is designed to prevent this. The gastrointestinal tract operates as a deconstruction zone, breaking down ingested proteins and peptides into their simplest components. This results in a systemic bioavailability of less than 1% for most oral peptides. The clinical utility of these molecules is dictated by their delivery method. Without a way to reach the bloodstream intact, the most advanced molecular sequence remains physiologically irrelevant. To understand why oral delivery fails, we can track a peptide through the path to absorption. In the stomach, the environment is highly corrosive, with a pH level reaching 1.5. Hydrochloric acid and pepsin enzymes identify these sequences as dietary protein. They immediately unspool the molecular bonds, unraveling the peptide into fragments to harvest their raw materials. As the remnants move into the small intestine, the pancreas releases proteolytic enzymes, represented here by the scissor icons. These enzymes chop any surviving fragments into single, isolated amino acids. The specific sequence required to send a biological signal is permanently lost. Liposomal encapsulations and enteric coatings are often marketed as solutions to this destruction. However, bile salts act as biological detergents that emulsify fats, dissolving protective lipid bubbles and exposing the peptide to the enzymatic process that destroys regular food. This comparison matrix illustrates the shift in efficiency when bypassing the gut. While oral bioavailability remains below 1%, subcutaneous injection allows the molecule to reach the bloodstream with over 90% efficiency. By depositing the molecule into the extracellular fluid, the peptide avoids the liver's first-pass metabolism. This ensures the amino acid sequence arrives at the cellular receptor in its original functional state. This creates a clear trade-off between convenience and efficacy. Using peptides effectively requires moving past the ease of a capsule and accepting the mechanical necessity of an injection to achieve measurable physiological change. When metabolic health has degraded to the point of chronic obesity or insulin resistance, standard lifestyle changes often fail. Retatrutide is the primary clinical intervention for these cases because of its unique triagonist function. This interface shows the molecule engaging 3 distinct pathways at once: GLP-1, GIP, and glucagon. Notice the sharp decline in appetite signaling from the hypothalamus, while nutrient partitioning increases, allowing muscle tissue to absorb glucose more effectively. The activation of the glucagon receptor forces the body to prioritize the oxidation of visceral fat. This is the inflammatory tissue that accumulates around internal organs, contributing to systemic disease and metabolic dysfunction. Most traditional weight loss strategies rely on caloric restriction through willpower. However, when the endocrine system is misfiring, the body effectively blocks fat mobilization. Retatrutide addresses the underlying chemical imbalance that makes traditional dieting ineffective for many. This protocol treats metabolic dysfunction as a programmable system. By using retatrutide to restore insulin sensitivity and fat oxidation, the body's internal regulation can be permanently recalibrated. Beyond metabolism, biological decline is driven by cellular entropy. Epitalin is utilized in this protocol specifically to target the degradation of the genetic caps that govern cellular lifespan. Every time a cell divides, its telomeres shorten. These are the protective caps on your DNA, visualized here by a fraying shoelace tip. When these caps vanish, the cell becomes senescent. It stops functioning but continues to release inflammatory signals into the surrounding tissue. Epitalin stimulates telomerase, the enzyme responsible for rebuilding these caps. It also acts on the pineal gland, helping to reestablish the circadian rhythms necessary for systemic repair during deep sleep. While epitalin addresses cellular aging, physical trauma requires direct tissue regeneration. BPC-157 is a sequence derived from gastric juices that has been isolated for its role in healing connective tissue. This grid demonstrates angiogenesis, the formation of new blood vessels. BPC-157 accelerates this process, creating new pathways for nutrients and oxygen to reach damaged areas that naturally have poor blood supply. This increased vascularity allows for the rapid repair of microtears in tendons, damage to ligaments, and the intestinal lining. It provides a biological speed of recovery that standard rest cannot provide. Combining these two ensures that the body is being repaired at two different scales. Epitalin manages the long-term cellular aging timeline, while BPC-157 provides the immediate structural resilience needed to bounce back from physical injury. The efficiency of all these repairs depends on energy availability. MOTS-C is used to address mitochondrial decline, the state where cells can no longer produce sufficient energy to maintain health. This molecule is unique because it is encoded directly within the mitochondrial DNA itself. It acts as a primary signaling molecule that regulates how the cell handles stress and fuel. MOTS-C encourages the cell to increase ATP production, which is the primary energy currency of the body. By optimizing mitochondrial function, it allows environmental stressors like cold or exercise to become adaptive triggers that strengthen the system. To support this increased energy output, the body requires a robust vascular network. TB500 is the final component of the protocol, selected for its role in cardiovascular and microvascular repair. This peptide mobilizes actin, a protein necessary for cell movement and the creation of the cellular scaffolding. This allows for faster wound closure and the recruitment of stem cells to areas of cardiovascular stress. In clinical models, TB500 has been used to repair ischemic damage, where tissue has died due to a lack of oxygen. It facilitates the remodeling of cardiac tissue, assisting in the formation of new blood vessels following a cardiovascular event. MOTS-C ensures the cellular energy pool is replenished, while TB500 maintains the cardiovascular integrity needed to distribute that energy throughout the body. This protocol is built on 5 peptides that target the 5 fundamental pillars of physical decline: metabolism, cellular aging, structural injury, mitochondrial energy, and cardiovascular health. These are the primary levers that dictate how fast a human system degrades. In this decision matrix, we can see that the most effective peptides populate the high-effort quadrant. Each molecule, from retatrutide to TB500, requires a commitment to the injection process to overcome the biological barriers of the digestive system. For most people, the psychological barrier of the needle is the only thing standing between them and these physiological results. It is a hurdle that marketing teams exploit by selling oral alternatives that simply do not work. Biology operates according to the laws of chemistry and physiology. When a peptide is swallowed, its amino acid sequence is dismantled by the gut. No amount of marketing can change this fundamental reality. Human biology is essentially programmable code. While we cannot stop the passage of time, we can influence the signaling pathways that govern decay. Subcutaneous delivery is currently the only validated method to ensure that code is delivered successfully. You have the option to pursue the convenience of a pill and accept the gradual decline of your biological hardware. Or you can accept the temporary friction of an injection to access a measurable systemic upgrade to your health.